Merhaba, bu video Uyurken İngilizce Öğren serimizin bir parçası. Bu seride gerçek tarihi olayları basit, anlaşılır ve kolay bir İngilizce ile hikayeleştirerek anlatıyoruz. Amacımız siz uyurken ya da dinlenirken İngilizce kelime dağarcığınızı, dinleme becerinizi ve cümle kurma alışkanlığınızı geliştirmek. İçeriğimizi beğendiyseniz beğenmeyi, abone olmayı ve yorum atmayı unutmayın. İyi geceler.
In the year 1911, Paris was a very busy city. Many people lived there and many people visited from other countries. Paris was full of art, music, and stories. During the day, artists painted pictures near the river. They painted the water, the boats, and the bridges. Writers sat in cafes with paper and pens. They wrote poems, books, and new ideas. At night, people met their friends in small restaurants. They laughed, they drank coffee, and they talked about life. Paris was called the City of Light and also the City of Art. In the middle of Paris, there was a very famous place. It was the Louvre Museum. A long time ago, the Louvre was a palace for kings and queens. But now, it was a museum for everyone. It had thousands of artworks inside. There were big statues, small statues, golden frames, and colorful paintings. People came from all around the world to see them. One of the most famous artworks in the Louvre was a small painting. It was called the Mona Lisa. The artist was Leonardo da Vinci. He painted it around the year 1503, more than 400 years before. The Mona Lisa was not a very big painting. It was smaller than many other paintings in the museum, but it was very special. People said it was the most important painting in the world. Why was it so special? Because of the woman's face. She had a very strange smile. Some people said she is happy. She is smiling at me. Other people said, no, she looks sad. She is not smiling at all. Everyone had a different idea, but everyone wanted to look at her. The Mona Lisa was like magic. When you looked at her, she also looked at you. Her eyes followed you around the room. Many people felt she was alive inside the painting. For French people, the Mona Lisa was not just a painting. She was a national treasure. She was a symbol of French culture and pride. She was very important for the museum. Every day, many visitors walked into the salon care, the room where she was hanging. They stood in front of her and stayed for a long time. On the evening of Sunday, August 20th, 1911, the Louvre closed like normal. Guards walked through the halls. They checked the doors and windows. Everything was quiet. The paintings stayed on the walls. The Mona Lisa hung in her place. Nothing seemed strange. But outside the museum, one man was thinking. He was not French. He was Italian. His name was Vincenzo Peruggia. He worked as a handyman and sometimes helped in the museum. He thought the Mona Lisa did not belong in France. He believed she should return to Italy, the land of Leonardo da Vinci. That night, Paris slept. The streets were calm. Carriages passed slowly. The lights of the Eiffel Tower shone in the sky. People dreamed peacefully in their beds. Nobody knew what would happen the next morning. Nobody knew that the Mona Lisa would soon disappear from the Louvre. On the morning of Monday, August 21st, 1911, the city of Paris woke up slowly. The sun was shining. People walked to work. Horses pulled carriages. Children went to school. It was a normal summer morning. Inside the Louvre Museum, the workers started their jobs. The museum was closed on Mondays. This was a rule. No visitors could come inside. Monday was a cleaning day. The staff used this time to repair frames, clean the floors, and move paintings if needed. One of the workers that morning was Vincenzo Peruggia. He wore a white coat like the other museum workers. To guards and cleaners, he looked like a normal staff member. Nobody thought he was different, but inside his mind he had a big plan. Peruggia had worked in the Louvre before. He knew the rooms. He knew the guards. He even knew where the Mona Lisa was hanging. He had thought about this plan for many weeks. He wanted to take the painting and bring it to Italy. That morning, he entered the museum early. He walked through the halls quietly. His white coat made him invisible, just like part of the staff. He went directly to the salon care, the room with the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa was hanging in her usual place. The painting had a wooden frame. It was covered with a heavy glass case to protect it. The glass was not very modern. It was thick but easy to remove. Perugia looked around. The museum was quiet. Only a few workers were cleaning floors. Nobody was watching him. Step by step, he moved closer to the painting. His heart was beating very fast. He carefully lifted the painting from the wall. It was not very large, but it was heavier than he expected. He carried it to a nearby stairwell. In the stairwell, he took off the frame. He removed the glass cover. Now, he only had the wooden panel with the painting. But there was a problem. The panel was too big to hide under his coat. He could not just walk out with it. For a moment, he was nervous. What if someone came and saw him? Then he remembered a trick. The workers' coats were long and white. If he wore his coat over the painting, it would look like he was carrying nothing. Quickly, he covered the painting and held it close to his body. Now, the Mona Lisa was hidden under his arm. He walked down the stairs and moved toward the exit. A plumber passed by, but did not notice anything strange. Another guard looked at him, but thought he was just another worker. Step by step, Vincenzo Perugia left the museum. He walked through the big doors of the Louvre and out into the streets of Paris. The Mona Lisa was no longer inside the museum. She was gone. That morning, the Louvre did not realize what happened. Workers continued cleaning. Guards walked through the halls. They thought everything was normal. The Mona Lisa's wall was empty, but nobody looked closely. Outside, Perugia took the painting to his small apartment in Paris. He hid it in a trunk with a false bottom. For the first time in history, the Mona Lisa was not inside the Louvre. She was inside the home of a simple Italian worker. On the morning of Tuesday, August 22nd, 1911, the Louvre Museum opened its doors to the public again. Visitors entered the great halls, excited to see art from all over the world. The air was full of voices and footsteps. One of the first visitors walked into the salon care, where the Mona Lisa usually hung. But the visitor saw something strange. The wall was empty. The golden frame was gone. There was only a blank space. At first, people thought it was normal. Sometimes the museum staff took paintings to the photography room. Sometimes paintings were cleaned or repaired. The visitor asked the guard, "Where is the Mona Lisa?" The guard smiled and said, "Do not worry. She must be in the photography studio. They often take her there." But after a few hours, the painting did not return. More visitors asked questions. More guards checked the studio. There was no Mona Lisa. There was no frame. The painting was missing. Finally, panic began. The guards ran through the halls. They searched every room, every corner, every box. They looked under staircases, behind doors, and in dark storerooms. But the Mona Lisa was gone. By noon, the news reached the museum director. His face turned pale. The most famous painting in the world was missing from the most famous museum in the world. The Louvre was immediately closed. Guards ordered all visitors to leave. Heavy doors were locked. Police were called. Officers with serious faces walked into the museum. They began asking questions, checking rooms, and looking for clues. Soon, the news spread outside. Reporters wrote fast. Newspapers in Paris printed big headlines. Mona Lisa stolen. People could not believe it. How could someone take a painting from the Louvre? How could they escape without anyone noticing? Crowds gathered outside the museum. People shouted and argued. Some said it was a joke. Some said it was an inside job. Others thought it was a foreign spy who wanted to hurt France. The French public was shocked. For them, the Mona Lisa was not just a painting. She was part of their heart. Now, their heart was stolen. Within days, the story spread around the world. In New York, London, Rome, and Tokyo, newspapers showed the empty wall of the Louvre. Everyone asked the same question. Where is the Mona Lisa? The police now had the most difficult job in France. They needed to find the Mona Lisa. But where could they begin? First, they looked inside the Louvre. They searched every room, every wall, every hidden space. They even checked the River Seine nearby, thinking the thief might have thrown the painting into the water. But they found nothing. The police began to ask questions. They talked to guards, to workers, to artists who visited the museum often. They wanted to know who was in the Louvre on the day of the theft. At that time, many artists went to the museum to paint copies of famous works. This was common in Paris. Young painters sat in front of masterpieces, trying to learn. The police wondered, maybe one of these artists had taken the Mona Lisa? Soon, the investigation reached famous names. One of them was Pablo Picasso, who was already a rising artist in Paris. Another was the poet Guillaume Apollinaire, who had strange friends and ideas. The police arrested Apollinaire, thinking he might know something. Apollinaire became nervous and said, "Maybe Picasso knows." The police then questioned Picasso. He was shocked. Picasso cried, "No, I did not steal the Mona Lisa. I am innocent." After days of questions, the police let both men go. They had no real proof. The French newspapers wrote about this drama every day. Some people laughed. Picasso the thief. Others were angry. How can the police not find the painting? Meanwhile, the police studied the empty wall carefully. They found fingerprints on a glass case. But in 1911, fingerprint science was new. The police did not know how to use it well. The prints gave them no answers. Weeks passed, then months passed, but the Mona Lisa did not return. Some people believed she was lost forever. Some even thought she had been destroyed. The world began to forget. The empty space on the wall of the Louvre became famous. Visitors came not to see the Mona Lisa, but to see the place where she once hung. It was almost like a ghost of art. But in the heart of Paris, and in the hearts of the French people, there was sadness. Their treasure was gone, and no one knew the truth. The thief's name was Vincenzo Peruggia. He was an Italian worker who once helped build the glass case for the Mona Lisa. He knew the museum, the halls, and the guards. He was not a famous criminal. He was just a simple man with a clever plan. After he took the painting out of the Louvre, he walked into the streets of Paris. He carried the Mona Lisa under his white work coat. The streets were busy. Nobody looked at him. Nobody thought he was carrying the world's most famous painting. Peruggia lived in a small apartment in Paris. The room was tiny, with one bed, one table, and a closet. He hid the Mona Lisa in the closet. For days, he opened the door and looked at her. He felt proud and also afraid. Why did he do it? Some people later said he wanted to return the Mona Lisa to Italy because he believed the French had stolen it long ago. Others said he wanted money. The truth is not simple. Perhaps it was both. For 2 long years, the Mona Lisa stayed hidden in his small room. During this time, Peruggia went to work as usual. He ate simple meals. He drank coffee in the local cafes. His neighbors never guessed that behind his closet door was the world's most famous smile. The Louvre remained empty. Tourists still came, but they only saw the blank wall. The French people still felt anger and sadness. But in Peruggia's small room, the Mona Lisa was safe and quiet. Sometimes, Peruggia took her out of the closet. He placed her on the table and looked at her face. Her mysterious smile seemed to speak to him. He told himself, "I will take you home, back to Italy, where you belong." But the years passed. The police had no new clues. The world slowly moved on. And still, the Mona Lisa waited in the dark closet of a poor Italian worker. 2 years passed. It was now 1913. The Mona Lisa was still hidden in the small Paris apartment of Vincenzo Peruggia. Peruggia was tired of waiting. He thought, "It is time. I will take her back to Italy." He carefully packed the painting into a suitcase. He bought a train ticket and traveled across the border. With him, hidden in the luggage, was the famous smile. In Italy, Peruggia contacted an art dealer in Florence. He said, "I have the Mona Lisa. She belongs to Italy. Help me return her to a museum here." The dealer was shocked. At first, he thought it was a joke. But then, when Peruggia showed the painting, he knew it was real. The dealer acted calm. He told Peruggia, "Leave the painting with me. I will give it to the right people." But secretly, he called the police. Soon, the Italian police arrived and arrested Peruggia. The news spread quickly across Europe. After more than 2 years, the Mona Lisa had been found. Crowds came to see her in Florence. For a short time, the Italian people were proud to have her. She was displayed in the Uffizi Gallery, and thousands of visitors lined up to see her mysterious smile. But soon, she was returned to France. The French government thanked Italy, and the painting traveled back to Paris. In January 1914, the Mona Lisa was placed back on the wall of the Louvre. When people saw her again, they cheered. The room was full of joy and relief. The empty wall was no more. France had its treasure back. As for Peruggia, he went to trial. The judges listened to his story. He said, "I only wanted to return her to Italy." Because of this, the court gave him only a short prison sentence. After 1 year, he was free again. The Mona Lisa, however, never left the Louvre again. She became more famous than ever before. Ironically, the theft made her the most recognized painting in the world. After the theft and the return, the Mona Lisa was never the same again. Before 1911, she was important, yes, but not the most famous painting in the world. After the theft, everyone knew her name. The newspapers, the magazines, the crowds in Paris and Florence, they all made her a legend. From that moment, the Mona Lisa was not only art. She became a symbol, a mystery, a story that people told again and again. Why did she smile? Why was she stolen? Why was she so special? These questions made her more powerful than ever. Artists made parodies of her. Writers created poems about her. Even advertisements used her face. The Mona Lisa was everywhere. She became the face of art itself. Today, more than 10 million people visit the Louvre each year. Almost all of them come to see her. The painting is small, only 77 by 53 centimeters, but people wait for hours just to look at her smile for a few seconds. She is protected by bulletproof glass, with cameras and guards watching all the time. Many say that the reason she is the most famous painting in the world is not only because Leonardo da Vinci painted her, but because of the theft. That crime and the mystery around it made her a superstar of culture. The Mona Lisa is now more than 500 years old, but her smile still lives, still inspires, still attracts millions. A worker's theft in 1911 made her eternal. Thank you for listening to this story about the stolen Mona Lisa. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This is part of our Learn English While You Sleep and Simple English History Stories series. By listening to real events in easy English, you can improve your vocabulary, grammar, and listening skills. Stay with us for more stories about history, mystery, and the world's most amazing events, all in simple English. See you in the next video.